Hola. I only know 2 words in Spanish, and I'm not proud. I'm going to start my talk with a greeting we use in Arabic. Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Maranella and all the organizers and all the students and all the people in Mexico for giving me this opportunity to come and visit Mexico and to learn and to share. It's a huge honor, so thank you very much. Gracias. Before I begin all my talks, usually I start with this slide. This is a picture of a card that my daughter gave me a few years ago, my youngest daughter. It says on the card, "I love you, so be happy," in both Arabic and in English. I take that message to heart. So every morning when I wake up, I remember that card and make a conscious decision that I am going to be happy, regardless what happens to me, regardless of the obstacles, because I have someone who loves me. And I ask every one of you to take that decision every morning, because we all have someone, at least one person, who loves us and believes in us. We all wake up in the morning, eat, drink, sleep, go to work, and back again. Eat, drink, go to work, and sleep. It's an ever-going cycle. But at some point, we wake up and we ask ourselves, why are we alive? What is the purpose? I ask myself that a lot of times. And the answer that I find when I ask myself is, our job as humans is to make this world a better place. And the world is not perfect. It's full of problems. So if we look around us, so the idea is to find a problem that bothers us, a problem that we see around us, and usually we think, how can I make a difference? How can one person make a difference? So you should take that problem and believe in yourself, think of what you can do, and actually go and take responsibility and take action. What I'm going to share with you in the next hour are 3 stories of how I dealt with that question, how I found a problem, and I asked myself, what can I do? And I took action and tried to make a difference in the life of the people around me. So the title of my first story, and I'm sure you all know I'm a storyteller or a read-aloud person, so I love stories. And all throughout history, human beings love stories. All throughout the holy books, it's filled with stories. Humans love stories and they learn through stories. So the first story that I'm going to share with you is the story of We Love Reading. 10 years ago, I was in the United States with my family. I have 4 children, and I was doing my PhD in molecular biology. Molecular biology means you have to deal with mice, so I would spend all my evenings and many nights in the lab with my mice. And my 4 children would go and spend their free time in the public library in the town where I lived. And they would read books, participate in activities, do puppet shows. They volunteered in everything possible that dealt with the library. When we went back to Jordan, because we all believe that we leave our countries, we go explore the world, and then we come back to build our country, to give back to our country and help in making it a better place. So in Jordan, I looked around to look for libraries for my children. I found a few, but they closed very early. They didn't have many books, and the people inside them were not enthusiastic. Nobody was reading books aloud. I solved the problem for my children. I went and I bought books and I read to them every night. But I realized that children do not read in Jordan. Not just children, even adults don't read in Jordan. And the statistics that Berta just mentioned that had came out from the Arab world is that the number of pages read in the Arab world per year is half a page, while that, for example, in the West is 11 books a year. So we do have a problem. And when we say read, that children do not read, the question is, what kind of reading are we talking about? Is it reading for education? No. In Jordan, everybody goes to school. Everybody has an education. Our literacy rate is very high, one of the highest in the world. Are we talking reading for religion? In the Muslim world, we read the Quran, and I'm sure you read the Bible. Is that kind of reading we're talking about? No. The kind of reading where we only read half a page a year is the reading for pleasure. And what does reading for pleasure mean? So every semester, I ask my students to fill out a survey, and one of the questions in the survey, do you read for pleasure? And they ask me, what do you mean by reading for pleasure? So my description is, we're in the car, late at night, driving home from one of the relatives, and we're at the red light. How long does a red light stay red in the middle of the night? 20 seconds? My daughter says, Mom, can I open the light in the car so I can finish my story? That's reading for pleasure. That's the kind of reading we want to develop, and that's the kind of reading we want to spread among all children, not just in the Arab world, but the whole world. Why is reading important? Why do we want them to read? Reading, first of all, opens the imagination of the child. He or she can visit countries they will never maybe be able to visit in their lifetime. They can go back through history and out to the future. Reading broadens their horizons, and it teaches them to understand other people. Because when you read about another person's life and you understand how that person grew up, what were the influences to that person, you learn to respect that person, even if you disagree with him. And so when you grow up, you have better communication and you have less war because you can talk about your differences while respecting them without having a war or a fight. Also, when children read, there's a huge increase in their vocabulary, the number of words that they acquire. And there was a piece of research that was done a couple of decades ago where a group of scientists followed 42 families from 3 different socioeconomic sectors. So you had the people on welfare, then you had the workers, and then you had the professionals. They followed 42 families for 2.5 years. Every month, they would go into that house and record what was being spoken inside the house. That's it. What type of words? How many words? Then they analyzed the data after 2.5 years when the children, they started when the children were 7 months old, and they stayed with them till they were almost 3. What they found, first of all, that all the parents, regardless of their socioeconomic status, loved their children. Everybody wanted the best for their children. There was no difference. We're all human. The only surprising difference was the difference in the number of words that the children heard in those 2.5 years that was different between one sector and the other. And the difference was between the sector from welfare and the sector of professionals, that the children from the sector of professionals were exposed to 36 million more words than those from the sector from the welfare. Just because the parents, they were more professional, they had more vocabulary, they read more to their children. Now imagine these 3 types of children going into the school system. They have equal intelligence, but one of them has 36 million more words in their pocket. Are they going to do better in school? Of course. It's a no-brainer. And the way you can jump this barrier, this socioeconomic barrier, you're a parent, you're not educated, how can you jump it? You're not going to go back to school, that's not practical. But you can read to your child a simple book as soon as that child is born. If you keep reading to that child, you will give him that extra vocabulary by using those words. Because when we converse, we don't use big words, but when we read, we do. Reading also gives vocabulary that a child can use to express himself or herself. So when a child is angry, they start yelling and screaming and kicking. And the reason is because they don't have the right word to describe their inner feelings. So when you read, and they read about a child who's jealous of his younger brother, and the child learns of the word jealous. And so when he feels this feeling, he comes to his mother and tells her, I'm feeling jealous, rather than kicking and screaming because he doesn't understand, and she doesn't understand what the problem is. So these children who grow up reading, grow up to be calmer, there's less violence, they understand themselves, so they become better citizens. I can keep talking about reading till morning, but you understand the picture. Reading is very, very important. And last point, those who read do better in school, so they have better jobs, so you have a better economy. So even for those people, businessmen who are only interested in money, investing in education will come back to help the country and develop it. So we all agree reading is important. Now the question is, why don't they read, since we all agree? Why don't they read? So we wanted to find out why they don't read and try to find out the solutions to make them read. I'm a scientist. I had to do some research. So I did some literature review, looking at what kinds of research were done, and I did observations in the field, asking the children, they are the experts, and the parents, why don't you read? And these were the different responses that I got. Ultimately, the take-home message was, these children don't read, not for lack of books, although books are important. Books are important, but they are not the reason they don't read. We have many programs where books are just given out. And I'm sure you go into houses that have different books, many books. Does that mean those people read? No. We found out through observation and through the research that has been done that the way to make a child read is to read aloud to the child, to immerse him or her in the experience, to live it. And this is like the Chinese proverb, you don't give someone a fish, you teach him how to fish. And I want to pause a minute here and talk about experience. In many parts of the world, and especially the developing world, we focus a lot about physical things. So if we want to improve a society, we build buildings, we buy material things, physical things. But that doesn't build a community. You need to train the people. You need to invest in the human being himself. What can I benefit from a building or a chair or a table equal to what I can benefit by training one human being? That human being can make the table, can bring the chair, can do a million things. So we need to focus on experience and training more than on the physical things. Those will come later. Similarly, if a child loves to read, that child will find books. Believe me, you don't have to he will find them. He will get money for them, he will borrow them, he will find them. But if he doesn't love to read, even if you give him all the books in the world, he won't read. So we found the key. The key is reading to children. And research has shown that the younger you read to the child, the more easier it is to plant the love of reading. As young as when the child is in the mother's womb. So as parents, if any one of you is expecting, or you know someone who's expecting, start reading now. Why? The child unconsciously, the fetus, and later when it's born, ties the voice's mother with reading and the feeling of security and happiness and comfort. So when they grow up, when they're unhappy, and when they're happy, they like to go back to a book because it gives them that, unconsciously gives them that feeling of security, love, and comfort. So it does work, but you have to start early. So I decided that I knew the solution. I had a solution. I knew how to make children read. And I had to do something. I felt if I didn't do something, then I would be letting down all the children in the world. I would be preventing them from this wonderful treasure that will change their lives. But what could I do? I don't have any money. I don't know anyone in the government or friends who have money who could build the library or do something. So I thought, I have to come up with a solution by myself. I have to do something. And I was walking down the road at that point, and I saw this ad in Adidas. Adidas should pay me money for doing this. And it hit it on the nail. So the quote is, nothing is impossible. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in a world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact. It's an opinion. So you think it's impossible. I don't. Impossible is not a declaration. It's a dare. You say it's impossible, I'll show you it's not. Impossible is a potential. The potential energy, hidden, it's there, it's waiting to be unleashed. Impossible is temporary. So if today I can't do it, I'll do it tomorrow. Impossible, in the end, is nothing. We put it if we want to. So that really inspired me. And whatever challenges I felt, whatever people told me, Rana, you're not going to, how can one person change children? The parents are more important. You can't make a difference. I believed I could, so I didn't listen to them. And we started in my neighborhood. So I thought, okay, I'll start in my neighborhood. I looked around me, and I thought, I need a place to read to children, because we are reading aloud. That's our focus. We call it library, but it's not a library in the physical sense, in the traditional sense. To me, library means a place you read aloud to a child. It doesn't matter where. So it's the experience. But we needed a place to read aloud, and a place that is safe, a place where any child could come. So I first started thinking, and when I started thinking, it wasn't just me by myself. My children and my husband were with me all the time, inspiring, discussing, arguing, suggesting, and telling, no, no, Mama, that doesn't work. No, no, that doesn't work. So it's been a family project all the time. We thought of opening our house, to let the children come. But in small neighborhoods, maybe the mom doesn't want her child to come to my house. Maybe the dad doesn't like, the other dad. So it wouldn't work. And if we were thinking long-term, forever, what if I moved, right? So we needed some place that was public and something that could be transferred to other neighborhoods. It's difficult to convince someone to open their house, but if we could find somewhere public. So we looked around us. And what's in every neighborhood in Jordan and the Arab world? There's a mosque. Just like here. I was walking this morning, there's a church on every corner. Same thing in the Arab world. So we thought, the mosque, why don't we use it? It's safe. It's got a bathroom because these are children. It's got a carpet so they can sit on the floor. Anybody could come to the mosque. No, it's not for a certain sector or certain kind of people. It's great. So I went to the mosque that was behind my house, and I asked the people who are responsible. I told them, of course they know me, they know my husband, they know my son, they know my daughter. I told them, I want to come to the mosque once on Saturday morning, once a week, and to read aloud to the children of the neighborhood. Stories, so to encourage them to love to read. Of course, because they know me, they said, you're welcome, of course, why not? And they welcomed me with open arms. And actually, I don't know how familiar you are with the Muslim religion, but we pray 5 times a day in the mosque, especially the men. The women don't have to, it's easier, we can do it at home. But the men have to go to the mosque. So we use the mosque for announcements. So the imam, the leader, would announce the day before 5 times, great communication, that tomorrow there's going to be a read aloud, so don't forget. So great communication. Now what happened is that we first of all defined the age of the children. We decided to go the age from 5 to 10 years old. Now we didn't go older than 10 because the older you are, the more difficult it is to plant the love of reading. And we wanted to be efficient, right? And it's a different kind of book, and it's more complicated. And we didn't go less than 5, because younger than 5, that means you have to bring the parent. You're not, a 5-year-old is not going, a 4-year-old, 3-year-old is not going to come by himself or herself to the mosque. Plus, they're going to cry, they need to change their diaper. We want to be practical. So we said 5 to 10. And in that age, boys and girls together can come. Already, that age group is playing in the street by themselves, so they can come by themselves. And that's one of the tenets of this model, is that we empower the child to come because that child wants to come. Now, the first week we announced, it was February 2006. 25 children showed up that morning. Now, why did they show up that many? Because the parents had heard about the read aloud, so they dragged their children. The children didn't want to come. To them, it's another activity. We don't want to go. And as parents, we always want to find something for our children, and we don't care if they like it or not. We take them there by force. So these children, I'm sure, came by force for the first time. But I put on my hat, which you can see, and I dressed up in a costume, and I have plenty of those, and I have a big bag of puppets, and I have a bunch of books. And the books that I chose to read to these children, I went and handpicked them myself. They did not relate to any ideology, any political, religion, or anything. They were just normal stories that a child could relate to. So one of the best stories I like, and I'll just say it really quickly, is about a little boy at home. His father's reading the newspaper, his mother is cooking, his older sister is yelling at him because he was in her things, and his mother's saying, why is your younger brother crying? Go take care of him. Terrible life. So the child says, you know what? He goes to his room, I'm going to run away. So he takes his bag and he starts packing, his teddy bear, his things, and he starts sneaking slowly outside the house. He's running away. And then as he's opening the door, the whole family says, surprise, it's your birthday, we made you a big party. So he says, you know what, I'll run away another day. And he goes back. These are the kinds of stories we read to the children. They love it because they see themselves in the story. It's them, so they love to live it. And of course, our books are in our native language. It has to be. If you want the child to love to read, it has to be in his native tongue. Otherwise, it's homework. And we choose them to be good language, colorful pages and pictures, so it's attractive to the child. And we have a group of good children's authors who have been supporting us and giving us donations or lower prices for these kinds of books. So I read 2 to 3 books to the children in an animated way, using my puppets and everything. Now, of course, my husband says, I'm having fun more than the children. So you have to have fun. And the child will know when you're having fun. They feel you. They understand what's going on. After we read 2 or 3 stories, the children line up. So we teach them how to make a line, and they take the books home. And the reason that we focus on for the children to take the books home is that they have to relive the experience of looking at the book, even if they don't know how to read, even if they're 4 or 5 years old and they don't know how to read, they look at the pictures, they remember what they heard, and that's how you plant the love of reading. So it's very important, if there are libraries in Mexico, to allow the child to take the book home. You're going to lose few, that's okay. They're going to be in someone's house being read, so that's all right. So these children take the books home, and next time, they bring the books back, and we exchange. So we don't even need shelves for the books. You give out all the books, and next time you collect them and give them out. If you have a lot of children, every family gets a book. If you have a few, every child gets a book. So it differs. And you don't need a lot of books. We started our library with 30 books, because a child loves to hear the same story again and again and again. So you're fine. And what happened is that the first time I bought the books, the 30 books, the mosque was so happy with the children reading, they started giving me money to go buy the books. So it's sustainable. Now, so the first time the 25 children came because they were forced to. Next week, these children were waking up 7 o'clock in the morning, dragging their parents. We want to go to the mosque to listen to the story because they were having fun. So we empowered the child, and that's so important for the development of the child's personality, his confidence, and that's how you will make him a responsible citizen to make decisions on their own, rather than having to, follow exactly what the parent does. I'm not undermining the parent's importance, but you should give him a little bit of leeway, a little bit of authority about what he wants or she wants to do. So we stayed like that for 3 years, reading in my neighborhood to the different children that came and go, and our numbers differed. From some days we had 20, some days it went up to 75, depending on summer programs, if we have exams, but it was a success. And when I measure, when I say success, I'm going to go back, I measure it, we didn't do any quantitative studies, but I'll talk about quality. These children knew the names of the authors. I can challenge adults in the Arab world who don't know the names of the authors. You know the name of the author when you love a book. You look for another book by the same author. These children recommend books to each other. When they stand in line, if one girl is at the end of the line, she'll tell me, could you keep my book at the bottom of the pile so it's my turn, I get the book I want? These are children like the ones we see in the West. And this proves children are children wherever they are, so long as you just have to give them the right experience, and they will deliver. So we succeeded. We were able to plant the love of reading in these children. And for 3 years, we proved it's enough for the child to be in our program for a year or 2. That's it. They're set for life because you gave them the tool to keep on going. They don't need follow-up training. They don't need anything. It's for life. So it's a very, very great model in that sense. Now, so our dream was a library in every neighborhood. We wanted the model to move to other neighborhoods. So every neighborhood would open the mosque to read to children. But when I talked to other people, when we would go and have lunch or dinner or coffee, and I'd tell them, why don't you start? And I'd tell them the story, they would be shy. They're not used to reading aloud. They never experienced being read to, so it's difficult. They're not used to volunteering outside the home. They are great with family. They take care of their families. They're ready to put their heart for the family. But going outside the house, the family, to serve the bigger community is not always familiar in the Arab world. So nobody took up the idea for 3 years, but I kept reading all the time. Then a friend of mine told me about an institution, and I'm mentioning it just to say it helped me take the next step. And this is where I see the role of in Mexico for CLASE and other institutions and foundations. So Synergos is an institution in New York, it's based on removing poverty and injustice in the world. They had a lot of programs in Africa, in Latin America, in Southeast Asia, but nothing in the Arab world. So they developed this program called Arab World Social Innovators, and it was the first year. And my friend said, Rana, why don't you, apply? So what I told you, I wrote down exactly. I didn't add anything. And I won the award. It was $34,000. And to me, that was, I never imagined doing that. But it allowed me to take the next step. And this is very important. Usually, many people will have ideas, and they may start them. But how to take the next step of you're actually going and doing something, you need support. And one person can't do it alone. And so this is one thing to bear in mind. The good thing about Synergos, they gave the award to an individual, not to an institution. Many awarding agencies give awards to institutions. To go from the individual to the institution is not easy. So you lose a lot of people on the way if you only fund an institution. But if you do your homework and find out really that these individuals are good and trustworthy, please invest in individuals. You will see a lot of good coming out from grassroots. So what we did with this money is we started training women because we found out, and men, we found out that the reason, like I said, is they don't know what to do, they're not used to things, so you have to train them. And we started buying books to start these libraries and to build a sustainability plan. Our vision was all children to read for pleasure, and our mission was a library in every neighborhood. Now, our training workshops have developed into a 2-day training workshop. What we do in our training, first we train women and men, but from the women we've trained, 500 women, we only have 5 men. So we always encourage men to participate, to be part of this, but it's mostly women. Now, these women, we train them how to read aloud. We bring a professional artist because, we have a saying, give the baker his bread to do it. I'm not an artist. I can read aloud, but I'm not a professional. So this lady, she comes from Palestine, and she trains the woman how to read aloud, how to move your body, how to raise your voice, and everything. So they have the tools. Then we train them how to start the library in their neighborhood. And we tell them, you have to choose a public space. It doesn't have to be a mosque. We chose mosques because we have them. It could be a Christian community, so the church. It could be a nursery. It could be a school. It could be a community center. It doesn't matter. In the end, it could be your home, if that fits. We tell them, you find what's comfortable for you, because it's your library. It's not my library. It's not Rana's library. It's not We Love Reading's library. It's the ladies' library. And we tell them, also, we train them on women empowerment, because now, because of this library, they're assuming leadership roles in their neighborhood, in their communities. And also, we teach them that this model is about community building, because it's not just the children who are coming to these read-aloud sessions. The parents become curious. They want to come and see what's going on, and they're so happy. I've had parents telling me that their children are doing better in school, their children are more confident, they stand up in front of the classroom, they talk, all because of these read-aloud sessions. So the parents become stakeholders. And especially now, with our communities breaking up in globalization and people moving and leaving villages and going into the city, our communities are breaking up. So this is a great way to bring them back together, for us to know our neighbors. We don't know our neighbors, and that's so important for the fabric of society. It's about volunteerism. So we train them. This is volunteering because they don't get any money. This is for free. They do it for free. And why do they do it? Because it is their community. The neighbors, those children are either relatives or friends who have been living in the same community for many, many years. So they will do it. And it's about creativity, because now these women have to think of creative ways. First of all, creative ways to keep the children interested, creative ways to fundraise, because in the first training, we give them we call it a seed library, 20 to 30 books, but then they're on their own. We do not give them books again. They have to fundraise. And like I did it, the mosque started giving me, we give them ideas. So you could do a bake sale. You could, talk to the kids may donate. Anything, so it's up to you and your creativity. And we want the woman to come up with these ideas to ensure the ownership, that it's her library, she's working for it, she's doing it. So she becomes a lot more creative. And what do we do with these libraries as well? So these libraries are not just places to read aloud or community gatherings. They also become a place for children to express themselves. So one time, back in 2009, when, I don't know how familiar you are with the other side of the world, but being in Jordan, we're in the middle of the Middle East, and Palestine is our neighbor. And many of us are from Palestine. I'm Palestinian. My father was born in Jerusalem, and we all had to leave when the Israeli occupation happened. So in 2009, Gaza was attacked, and for 1 whole month, and they were under siege. They're still under siege, but it was attacks. On TV, the children in Jordan were watching children being killed and traumatized on TV in Gaza. So what could we do? How could we help our children in Jordan? And some of these children, these were relatives, not just strangers on the TV screen. So we thought, today we're not going to read aloud. We're going to use this time to help these children express their feelings. So we got huge pieces of white paper, paints, and nylon bags, and we told them, draw your feelings. Send a message to Gaza, to the children there. Share your feelings. So it was a great, great success for the children. We also use these libraries. It's developed into something else. These libraries become platforms for dissemination of awareness programs, for changing behavior. Many programs inside a country or even coming from outside the country want to change attitudes. For example, energy conservation, water conservation, hygiene, health. How do you change such behaviors? You find the huge programs coming in with millions of dollars, putting ads on TV or in the street. And I think, and what I've seen, when they leave, everybody forgets. What we can do in our libraries is that, and what we're doing next year, is we're developing stories that relate to themes of specific behaviors. So we are writing books now about energy conservation, water conservation, littering, not to throw things in the, about love and forgiveness. And then we will give these books out to the libraries all over Jordan. And now the readers, when they read it aloud to the children, and the children take the books home and read it to their parents, you are changing behavior. Very easy, very efficient, doesn't cost you a thing, and it's a real change. So this is what we're doing with our libraries as well. What do we tell the ladies we train? We tell them, we don't want you to pay us back, we want you to pay it forward. So we tell them, we train you, you have to sign a paper that you're going to train someone else. And when you train someone else, you have to tell that person she has to train someone else. And she also has to tell the other person she has to train someone else. So what happens is that it becomes a ripple effect. And because of that, our model has spread, not just throughout Jordan. In Jordan, we've trained up till now 530 women. We have 130 libraries all over Jordan. The butterflies are the libraries. And more than 4,000 children impacted in Jordan. And 60% are female. But we've also spread throughout the Arab world through this ripple effect where somebody trains someone who trains someone. So we have people reading in the Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, in Tunis, in Lebanon, in Palestine, in Turkey. Ashiv, which Charles mentioned earlier, is a mother-child development program in Turkey. They came and visited us, took our model to implement it in Istanbul. It's also becoming worldwide through the ripple effect and through the website. So we must not underestimate the internet and Facebook and all that. So in this case, I got emails from a lady from Thailand. She said that she saw our website and she started a library in her neighborhood for the orphans who were hit because of AIDS, with her son and her daughter, just like I started, and she was reading to these children. And I also got an email from Azerbaijan. She found me out on the website and wanted to start a library in her neighborhood. In Germany, a grandmother sent me an email. I want to read to the migrant children coming from the Turkey and the Arab world because nobody reads aloud to them. And surprisingly, I got 2 calls from America, from the USA, from New York and from Urbana-Champaign in Illinois, the state of Illinois, that we would like to adopt your model. And I thought, wait a minute, you have libraries. What do you want with my model? And they said, no, your model is not just about reading. First of all, some communities don't read. I mean, we say the USA and they read, but you have people who read a lot, but you have people who don't read at all. So these are to serve those communities, and it's just not about reading. This model is about the community coming together, woman empowerment, and all those other things. So it's not always west to east. Sometimes it's also east to west. And this is about building confidence, you know, that we can produce, we can be creative, and we have definitely great ideas. And I need to add an arrow to Mexico. So we will start, I hope, a We Love Reading program in Mexico as well. And that would be because of you, not because of anyone else, because of you carrying it on and helping it become a movement. So our model actually is a ship in the making. It's not static, it's changing all the time. We learn from every new person we train from them, because we tell them when you start your library, keep a diary. Document what happens with you. What are the challenges? What are the disappointments? What are your successes? How did you deal with them? And share this information so that we can develop our training and learn. Because this woman, when she takes this program to her neighborhood, we train her to tailor it to fit her neighborhood, to fit her schedule, to fit who she is. And that's one of the reasons for sustainability for this program, because it is volunteer, it is pure volunteer. And it is a way of keeping it going and self-sustainable. And it's cost efficient because it's so simple. It's a very simple idea, but very, very effective. And the ownership is also built because these women start the library in their neighborhood, and nobody knows about We Love Reading. And this happened when the Qatar Foundation sent a photographer, and Charles Leadbeater sent his assistant to interview us to learn about We Love Reading. I took the photographer and the lady to the mosque, to one of the ladies who reads aloud. I contacted her earlier and I told her, listen, somebody wants to make a video or a program about our program, and we want to come and visit you. So what time do you read and where? So we came to the mosque, we sat in the back. There were some parents, and there were the children, and there was Rula, the lady who was trained by us and this is her library. So the parents came to us and said, why are you here? And he said, oh, you know, we're taking pictures of Rula. These people are doing a program about her library. And they told us, Rula is wonderful. She started this library all by herself. She's amazing. She collected all these kids and she started reading to them. She's a godsend. She's a wonderful woman. Nobody talked about it, and I cried, because to me this was it. She got all the credit, and she deserves the credit. It is her library, and that's why Rula will never stop, because it's her library, it's her ownership, and that's why this program is sustainable and it works, because it builds ownership into the program itself. And because of that, we have the book. One of the chapters in the book, part of it, is about We Love Reading, and as Charles had mentioned, we have become a movement, piggybacking on the network of women that is present, the network of mosques that is present, and making change very slowly, very subtly, but very, very effective. And most programs always look for a cost-efficient, effective program that doesn't cost a lot of money. We were invited to the Clinton Global Initiative and made a commitment to open 100 more libraries in Jordan in particular. And we calculated it costs less than $50 to make a child read forever. Forever, that's it. It's just one payment. You don't need to keep paying, just once. So I always read to my children, and one of the books that I read is Dr. Seuss. It's a very famous children's author's book. And in this book, it's called the Places You'll Go. And the last page, it says, and will you succeed? And the answer is, yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. And we did move a mountain. So it makes me think. So from trying to find a solution for my children, we became a movement. So any little good deed, do not belittle it. It will become great. And this reminds me of the chaos theory. For those who are physicists in the audience, the chaos theory is a theory that says, when a butterfly flutters its wings in China, there's a hurricane in the Atlantic. Well, there was one yesterday. I wonder who fluttered their wings in China. So this brings me to my second story, which I call the butterfly effect. So in 2005, when I got back to Jordan after finishing my PhD, I came with the notion that education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. And this, by the way, is by William Yeats. It's a famous quote by William Yeats, but I use it all the time because I believe in it. We have enough, when you look at students, and that's what I looked at our students. Our students are all about memorizing and going to an exam. They really don't enjoy what they're learning. If they're learning they're just memorizing, and hence they do not become productive citizens. Although our educational systems preach that we are all about producing the citizen that will make a difference, that will build the country. But unfortunately, if we do not make education a lighting of a fire, it will never work. What we want to do is to go from a student who's falling asleep in the classroom, and I'm sure you've all fallen asleep at some point in your life. I have, definitely. And I hope nobody's asleep now. And to a student who is dreaming, who is thinking outside the box, who has this fire inside them. So how do you do that? In Jordan, we have the child who's sleeping. We don't have the other child. So although I'm a scientist, we are all educators, first and foremost. And as a university professor, I thought I have to do something. I can't be quiet. I have to make a difference. So I looked around at different pedagogies, and I found something called service learning. This is a pedagogy that was established in the 1980s in the USA. And service learning is about, usually students are in the classroom, and the professor is lecturing, all right? And of course, everybody's asleep, and nobody remembers anything. Service learning is about taking the student and turning that student into a teacher to teach a sector of community who is in need of that information or in need of that knowledge or in need of that skill or expertise. And it's always that the teacher who knows more and who learns more than the student. Actually, it's a monopoly. It's not fair because we prepare. When you're a teacher, you have to prepare. You have to be ready. So what we do is we give this to the student. So the student achieves the learning part because he or she are preparing to teach the community what he or she should have learned in the classroom. And the service part comes that student goes into the community, to that sector that needs that service, that needs that information. So that's the service. You are serving the community. It is not community service, and it's not volunteerism, because it is very structured. It has to be part of a course. It has to be graded. And how do you grade? Is that you make the student write a diary to reflect upon the experience when they are going into the community to teach the community, what they should have learned by themselves in preparation. So what happens is that the student learns and the community benefits. And it's very wide. It could be a module from a course. It could be the whole course. It could be optional. It could be compulsory. It's up to the professor to choose to do what they want. Now, and this is similar to the Chinese proverb, tell me I will forget, show me I may remember, involve me, and I will understand. So service learning is all about involvement. Now, and just to give you a little bit about the benefits of service learning, it's student-centered, and this is very important. In the whole world, we're moving from teacher-centered to student-centered because we don't want to know what the teacher can deliver. We want to know what the student needs for his life later on when they graduate, which reflects what the community needs. And service learning is one way of knowing what the community needs to prepare our student. It's about collaboration with classmates, with the recipients of the service, and in the design of the project. It's about experimenting because doing an experience because you need to assess, you need to research, you need to develop a project. It's also about being intellectual because you have to seek different sources, you have to analyze, and you have to use subject matters. It is analytical. You examine the root causes of whatever problem you're trying to help solve for the community. You consider the people of the community, and you examine their role in their communities. It's also multicultural, involves different stakeholders, and it's also value-based because you learn to acknowledge that there's controversy in your communities and respect the different problems and perspectives and to discuss them and examine them. And it's also about activism because these students become activists. So in the end, who would benefit from the service learning? The community would benefit because now they understand the role of the students in their community. And also, the university benefits because the university's objective and goal is to produce citizens that can make a difference. The traditional way doesn't produce citizens who can make a difference, but service learning produces the citizens who can make a difference because they know now how to use the skills that they learned in university or in school to serve their community later on. We have a huge unemployment in Jordan, and similarly in Mexico and many places of the world. What do our students, when they graduate, they sit at home. They don't do anything. And when you tell them, why don't you go, they say, why, how? And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I blame us, the teachers, the educators. We need to show them how to utilize their knowledge. And service learning is one way to show them. Because when they know, they can serve their community. So it's a winning trial to change the curriculum and the students and the community. And Jordan needs it because we do not have service, we have unemployment, and we don't have volunteerism. So what did I do? I convinced you service learning is important. It solves the problem. Yes. But what can we do? Just like the speaker who spoke right before lunch, he said, we all of us are pointing to the problem, but what are we doing to solve the problem? So what I did is I wrote a letter to the president of my university, and I told him, the university is not producing the students it wants. Service learning is great. I told him all about it in the letter. Why don't we adopt it as a pedagogy? Of course, he wrote back, this is the typical, bureaucratic, traditional, we don't need service learning. Who said we need service learning? We're fine. Did I take no for an answer? No. I remembered the impossible. Nothing is impossible. All right. So I did two things. First, I created a team. So I went around talking to different professors about how wonderful service learning is. And I convinced them. So we had a team. And then we did a pilot study. So we took 2 courses, and we taught one section of the course using service learning, and one section using the traditional method. And then we did a quality assessment, and we showed that the students who were taught using service learning did much better, more mature, they enjoyed their learning experience, and the community, of course, benefited a lot. And we actually published this in a scholarly journal. So we proved our point. But do you think that's enough to convince administration? Of course not. You know what works? Money works. Only money. So I thought, all right, I'm going to get money. So I emailed 100 different service learning centers all over the world. So technology is important. Without internet, I couldn't have done that. And some places answered, we can help you, but we can't give you money. I mean, we can help you in expertise, but money, no. Especially the United States. I mean, they can help by advice, but no money. However, when I emailed people in Europe, I got an answer from an institution from the EU, which is called Tempus. Tempus is an organization that funds not research, like the US, but it funds curriculum reform, structural reform, which fits the bill, because that's what we wanted to do, curriculum reform. Now, one of the conditions for Tempus is that you need 4 European countries with you. So I had to find 4. So after, like I said, I emailed many, and then one of them from University of Roehampton in London, the director of the Center for Service Learning there, responded, and he said, Rana, I will work with you. We will write a grant together. And don't worry, I'll get the European countries on board. So he contacted Ireland, Sweden, and Bulgaria, and he did all that work, and we wrote the grant for a whole year, and it came the time to submit our grant in 2007, end of 2007. Before the day, like 2 days before we submitted our grant, David had been always corresponding via email with me. We never talked on the phone. It was only email. So 2 days before it was time for our grant, he emailed me. He said, Rana, can I call you? I'm sure he wanted to make sure that I was real, not just a computer-generated program going back and forth. So I'll never forget. He called me and I said, yes, I'm real. And we submitted our grant. Now, we did not win the grant. 2008, the results came out, we didn't get the grant. Did that make us stop? No. Remember, impossible is temporary. It didn't work today, it'll work tomorrow. So we contacted the organization, said, why didn't we win? We're good, why didn't we win? And they said, oh, because you're one country from the Arab world. If you get 2, you'll win. So, okay, fine. Emails to Lebanon, Egypt, Palestine. Please, which university would be interested to be partners? And we got a response from Lebanon, and we applied again in 2009, and with teamwork, we won the grant for almost €1 million to start a service learning center in Jordan at my university. And so this was the name of our grant, Developing Service Learning and Civic Engagement Partnerships Across the Curriculum. And our vision was to see our students engage and participate in their local and national communities and to be prepared as citizens to make a difference. We partnered with the ministries of education, of social development, of health, and many NGOs and institutions. And we became a center of excellence for Jordan, for the region, for the Arab world, and even internationally, meaning we could help Turkey, not even the non-Arab world. So we did succeed. Yes, and even in the Arab world. Now, I'm going to give you 2 examples of service learning. Now, it's not easy because you have to be very creative as a teacher, as an instructor. It doesn't have to be from the university. Service learning goes across from first grade, from nursery to higher education. But we were using it in higher education. And for the professor, although you have to be creative to find out how to do service learning with your course, but you don't have to teach for a few weeks, so it's worth it. You relax. And for those professors and teachers who get bored, this is a way of not to get bored because you have to keep up coming with new things. So I had to be, but I teach cell biology, you know, not public health, not education, not engineering where you could go, you know, build a house. It's cell biology, it's basic science, it's a cell. How do you service learning that? So I had to be very creative. So I teach it in 2 ways. One, I tell my students, after I put them into groups, that you have to go to a high school. If I look at the curriculum of biology in the high school curriculum, find out a section that we should have covered in class. Take that section, prepare it, and teach it to the high school students. But you have to teach it in a creative, problem-based way to get the students interested in biology, interested in science. So you have to tie it with a disease, with something that's going on. It's up to you. So the learning is the student preparing, she or he are a teacher, and the service is that these high school students become interested in science. Otherwise, they were sitting bored, the teacher is teaching the traditional way. So that was a success. The other way of doing service learning in cell biology is we told my students that you have to look through media, written media, in Arabic from our country, for a news that has information about cell biology related to a disease that is wrong. And we know how much the media puts wrong things out that's not good for the people. And then they had to write a letter to the editor or the writer or the reporter explaining very politely, so they had to learn how to be diplomatic, how that piece of news is wrong, how they should reference their work, what is the negative impact of disseminating such wrong information to people's lives. So the students, oh my God, the students, they told me they never read so many newspapers, and they never had to go back to check the news. Is that right or not? So they learned a lot. And the service was the journalists, so the sector, not necessarily the poor. It could be any sector of the community that you're serving. It could be a museum. It could be an IT. It could be the Chamber of Commerce, depending on what you're teaching in your course. So in this case, it was the journalists who we were serving to make them aware of that they should be more responsible, they should know more, they should ask scientists before doing that. So, and the reflections from my students after going through service learning was amazing, that it increased their motivation, their teamwork, it was fun, they had more confidence, they learned to dialogue, and they learned to challenge themselves and to challenge others. And when we asked them, would you do service learning again? Of course, most of them, the majority said they would. So fire can burn, but cannot move. Wind can move, but cannot burn. Till fire joins wind, it cannot take a step. Do men know it's like that with knowing and doing? So that's service learning from a 10th century Indian poet. So from a butterfly sitting on a desk thinking, what can I do for my students, to a service learning center at my university, at the Hashemite University. So we have to make the difference. We have to make the change. We cannot wait for someone else to do it for us. Now, I'm going to stop here for a second, because when I've told you 2 stories, right? There's a third one. When I read aloud to the children in my neighborhood, we read 3 stories. But after the second one, we have to do an exercise, because everybody has a short attention span, and you get tired and restless. So we're going to do an exercise together. So I ask everybody to stand up, please. Please stand up. Oh, God. Now, what I'm going to do, I don't need this. I want you to do what I do, okay? As I move along, so I'm here, the people in front of me start doing what I'm doing. And as I move, everybody start, but you stay doing it, and everybody else keeps doing it, okay? And if I change my movement, you change your movement, okay? All right, so let's go. Oh, let me tell you what we're doing. We're doing rain. We're going to be rain. And rain in Arabic is always a symbol of good and hope. So we're going to make hope. So let's go. We're going to. Now, I want you to keep doing this, and don't change until I reach you, okay? So only here. Okay, now. You have to stand. Okay, now. And then. All right, thank you. You can sit down. I want to conclude. Do I have? Right. I hope I think I'm over time. Do I have 5, 10 minutes? How much time do I have? Okay. All right, so now you're all relaxed. You got that, and you're ready for my last story. This is my last story. And so we all are socially aware of what's going around us, all of us. Actually, we're not just socially aware of the problems we face. We are social entrepreneurs. Every one of you is a social entrepreneur, because what the social entrepreneur means, that they recognize a problem and they think in their mind that there must be a better way. There must be a better way. There must be a better way for this problem. But the point is, we don't take the second step. We don't go do something because it's difficult. The second step is difficult. We all know there's a problem. We all think there's a better way, but we don't do it. We don't take responsibility. So as an educator, I thought, I have to help my students take that second step. Okay, I have to train them. I have to guide them. Because if they know how to take that second step, they'll solve all the problems. So my third and last story is it's called the second step. So what I did is, I wanted to train my students. So I created a project called Community Awareness Project. This project is about building self-confidence, gaining independence for the student, and developing leadership skills and teamwork skills. What we do in this project, at the beginning of the course, I tell my students, you start your course, you already have 10 points. So everybody has 10 points in their pocket before the course even starts. Now the point is, how do you keep the 10? How don't you lose them? So I tell them to keep the first 3 points, to make sure that you have them. You have to identify a problem in your community that bothers you. It has to bother you. Like people don't stand in line, the traffic, I don't know what. Something that bothers you. And usually you tell yourself, oh, this is the world, you know, this is people, we can't change them. And I want you to write down that problem on a little notebook and give it to me. Okay? I give them 2 weeks. They give me the back of their notebook. That's 3 points. And when they did that, the different problems that they identified, I mean, there are some I knew, but there are some I never knew about before. And here's just quick examples of the different problems they identified in their communities around them. Then I told them, I give them back their notebook, and I tell them, you have another 2 weeks to come up with a solution. But the solution has to be something you can do. It can't be the government has to change the rules. No. It can't be the parents have to, you know, change the way they bring up their children. No. It has to be something you can do. And you have to write up that solution. What's your strategy? What tools are you going to use? And so on. You hand me back your notebook. That's 2. Now you have 5. Then I give back. So the different types of plans. So some people, their plans was about changing myself. Okay? That's it. I want to change myself. Some people were changing their family. Some, the community. And types of plans. So some of them were, I want to advise other people. Some were about, no, let's make a survey or a pamphlet. Some were actual active involvements that I'll give you a few examples in a minute. Then I tell them, you have a whole month to execute your plan. And all I want from you is to keep a diary of what happened. Did people smile and like you? Did people hate you for what you're doing? What are the challenges you face? Just write down a diary. That's all. For 1 month, keep a diary. I don't care about the results. I'm just going to care about you kept a diary. And then you give it back to me. If you do, that's another 5 points. You have your 10 points for free. All my students love it because that's 10 points in cell biology for free. Okay? And I'm going to share some of the examples. So like I said, some of them were I'm changing myself. Some were changing the family community. One girl, she went above and beyond. Her problem was the children who beg at the streetlights. She followed the child home and went to his parents, asked them, why are you sending your son to beg at the streetlights? Found out that the father didn't have work, took the father to the Ministry of Social Development, found him a job. That was her solution. And another one, she went to the nursing homes and started reading and playing and being with these old people to take care of them. So the range of the answers or the responses or the solutions were amazing. And the most thing is the evaluation of these students. So when we asked them, did you ever think of taking an active role in solving a problem that bothered you before? Most of them, or more than half, didn't. But they shared with me that the different problems that they faced in taking this second step, the lack of courage, the lack of confidence, how to start, the shyness, the voice inside that says, one person is not enough. You know, you can't do it. You won't do it. And we asked them which posed the bigger problem. Was it yourself or the community? And most of them answered it was the community. And then lastly, when we asked them, do you think that you will be able, are now more capable to make a difference in your community? Most of them said yes. And I'm just going to share the comments that they will never say, leave something without doing something. They can never be silent anymore. That their attitudes have changed. The concept of freedom. They learned responsibility and courage, persistence and patience. And this showed how if we give them a taste of how to make a difference, how to change, they will. We all will, but we have to learn how. So in conclusion, the goals that we had set for this program, which I do in my cell biology course for the past 4 years, every semester, all the students, 60 to 100 students, find problems, develop solutions, and apply them. Even if they don't change that problem, they change themselves. That is producing a citizen who can make a difference in their future, in their communities. So there is more in us than we know. If we can be made just to see it, perhaps the rest of our lives, we will be unwilling to settle for anything less. And that's what we give our students. So I'm concluding now. I have a message for the people here and the people in Mexico. That you have all the solutions. You, especially, and I say you, the people at the grassroots, who are living the problems, you have the solutions in you. Just trust in yourself, have confidence, and believe in yourself. Read, learn about other programs, tailor them to fit you. Don't take them as they are. We are all different. Tailor them to they fit you. Never accept, just transferring something as it is. Don't be the victim, okay? You have enough confidence. And then take it step at a time. It doesn't matter the result. Don't think of the result. The road of 1,000,000 miles starts with the first step. Think, what am I going to do today? And just do it. And for the government, and everyone is special. Everyone is special and has something to give. So you don't even have to be a teacher. You could be an educator. You could be anyone taking care of the microphones. Everyone is special, and anyone can make a difference in their communities. And every one of us is an educator. And if we gather all this energy from every person of us, we become a volcano to make a difference in the world. And we become like ripples. You know when you throw a stone in the water and the ripples just grow and grow and grow. But also the second message is that we need the government, in my country and in your country, in all countries, and the private sector to help remove the obstacles in front of these people. The people have the solutions, but they have a lot of challenges. Obstacles in terms of funding, obstacles in terms of bureaucracy. So remove those so that these people can go forward and make a difference. And I see CLASE and the organization as a catalyst. I'm a biologist, I have to put in the word catalyst. A catalyst in two ways. One, in providing a rich environment for these people who have the solutions, because creativity requires a rich environment, and this conference is a rich environment. This is how people will now, the wheels are going round and round. What can I do? Going back to their communities. So that's a great thing you're doing. And the second thing as a catalyst is building the bridges in advocacy between government and these people, and between the sector and businesses and these people. I met with many teachers and many people and students in these past 2 days, and these are wonderful teachers. I was a teacher for 10 years before I went and did my PhD. I taught in schools with children, and I believe it's the most honorable job in the world to be a teacher, because it's the most difficult and it's the most important, because you are producing the citizens of tomorrow. Nothing can be more important. And those teachers, we must respect them and give them the education they need, the training they need, because they will face a lot of obstacles. We all have. And I think what keeps us going is not the money or the reward. The real reward is when a child looks us in the eye and you see that light bulb going on. That's what keeps us going regardless of everything. That's our gratitude. That's our gratification. So we all want to be happy. And the best happiness we can achieve is when we help someone else. And when we help someone else, that's by making a difference. So I'll leave you with a song. It says, the higher you climb, the more that you see. The more that you see, the less you know. The less you know, the more that you yearn. The more that you yearn, the higher you climb. I have been honored and inspired by all the cases that have been presented. And it's inspired me that I have to do more. I'm not doing enough. And it's also humbled me to think of the huge challenges the people here face, yet they have succeeded. They have been able to remove those obstacles. So think, what can you do as a teacher, as an administrator, as a businessman, as a parent, as a citizen, to make your world a better place? And whatever you dream, you can do. Begin it. Boldness has power and magic in it. Begin it now. I'm going to leave you with 1-minute video. Like you said, the video art is more expressive than 100 words. So can we have the video, please? And thank you very much. So the take-home message, don't wait. Jump in, be creative, and make a difference in your lives. Thank you.